Welfare reform is a movement to change the federal government's social welfare policy, which shifted the responsibility to the states and cut benefits. Welfare in the United States is benefiting the wrong people. More people are abusing welfare than are getting to use it, and the people who are abusing it are not necessarily the people who are gaining the benefits from the state or the federal government. Welfare should be changed to not have outside companies to be the ones that are dealing with the welfare benefits, and also people should be drug tested before they can get on welfare, and every state should have laws in place where the benefits cannot be pulled out at locations such as strip clubs and liquor stores and things such as that. Welfare began in the Great Depression, and since then it has needed a change to help families get off welfare instead of living on it forever. Initial welfare programs were created in the Great Depression, and they are actually counterproductive to getting people off welfare and helping themselves. The initial welfare that was created in the Great Depression actually allows people just to stay on welfare as long as they need and doesn't make people get off of welfare. In 1996, the Welfare Reform Act was created and required people to work at least 20 hours a week in exchange for benefits. With this act in place, there was a huge drop in welfare cases in just 3 years. The Welfare to Work program ended in 2004. The Welfare to Work program was actually the program put in place that made people actually get jobs in order to receive benefits. They had to work at least 20 hours a week in order to receive any benefits from the state or federal government. The current welfare system is not liked by many people for many reasons. States would rather take less federal money in return for more flexibility in what they can spend their money on in their welfare. States don't have a lot of leeway in what they can do with the money, how they separate it or disperse it. This federal government basically tells the state what they can spend their money on, and that's exactly what they have to do. The current system does not encourage work. It is responsible for a rise in out-of-wedlock or births to young parents, and it does little to reduce poverty. This being said, people are not required to work to receive benefits, and people can receive benefits for as long as they need. It's not cut off after a certain period of time, as long as there's kids involved. The current system, most of the people on welfare could not get, let alone keep a job, because they are not highly educated enough to do so. People these days drop out of school, they don't attend college, things of that nature, and they think that they can get a job and make a lot of money, but they can't, and so they are having to live off of welfare to gain their funds to make ends meet. The Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996 was the government's first attempt at welfare reform. This act was signed by President Clinton, and it dramatically changed the welfare system for the better to help people getting on their feet. 3 rules that applied after this act were: recipients are required to find jobs within 2 years of first receiving benefits. That means that people cannot live off of the welfare benefits for their entire life. A total of 5 years is all recipients are allowed to receive. Family caps were put in place so that babies born to mothers already on welfare cannot receive any additional benefits. This will deter people from having out-of-wedlock children or having children that they cannot afford to take care of. This act has lowered welfare caseloads. From 1994 to 2004, the caseload has decreased by almost 60%. That means that people are not living off of welfare, and they are taking care of their own kids and their own lives, and they are making ends meet from getting jobs. The number of U.S. children on welfare is now the lowest it's been since 1970. In Texas, after the act, the House also passed a bill and created many opportunities to get back into the workforce. Adult TANF is limited to 1 year with a 5-year freeze-out afterwards. This means that Adults with no children can only receive TANF benefits, which are able to spend on anything that they want for 1 year before they get a freeze out of 5 years afterwards. Welfare abuse is the reason that not every single person who needs help gets it. People abuse welfare, causing some people who really do need welfare to fall through the cracks, and they are just above the line to be able to be approved for the benefits. People abuse the welfare system by lying on their application about the number of individuals in a home, how much income is received, or the bills that they are paying with that money. If there is money coming into the home that is paid for under the table, then the government cannot track it, and then they don't have to claim it on their welfare application. This means things such as drug dealing or construction jobs under the table, people get paid for those as well getting paid by the government, which is not fair to the people who actually have jobs who are getting paid and then they don't qualify for benefits. The number of individuals being claimed in the home affect how much money you will gain, so people will lie about how many people live in their home and they will gain more benefits off that person. When people do, there are no restrictions for what those benefit receivers spend their TANF on. In Indiana, there was a law passed that ATMs in certain venues cannot accept the TANF cards, which means places such as strip clubs and liquor stores, they made a law that said that the ATMs in that state had to have a lock on them so that people with TANF cards cannot use them in those locations. Welfare money has to go into the programs to help prevent fraud instead of going to people that are deserving of it. Welfare programs to prevent fraud have to be paid for out of the country's welfare budget. This means that instead of the money being spent only on welfare, they have to create programs to prevent fraud, which lessens the number of people that can actually gain welfare benefits from the budget that is set. Individual programs that help run welfare systems are creating more fraud than individuals who try and get around how much money they gain each month. The KRA spent $50,000 to send 130 people on a sunset dinner cruise off of welfare or taxpayers' dime. Western PA Child Care charged $84,000 on a limo service to the NCAA basketball game and other non-welfare things that they wanted to do. Taxpayers paid twice the mortgages on the same house, which totaled more than $1 million in taxpayer money gone. This means that taxpayers are paying for other people to gain money off of the taxpayer's dollar. Welfare reform needs to be changed to where it's not done by outside companies, so where the outside companies cannot gain money from the taxpayers' dime, and they're also hurting other people who are actually in need of welfare. Welfare needs to change so that people cannot get fraud, and so that there's no fraud involved, and if they are caught lying on an application, then there needs to be repercussions, not just that they continue gaining benefits on somebody else's dime. Thanks.